Okay, we're here with Barbara Stoltzfus. Barbara's going to be talking about what it was like to be Amish, and then as she left the Amish church, what experience she had in that. I guess, thanks for doing this. Can you tell me what was it like? What are the first memories you have as a child being Amish?
Well, you know, when you're little like that, you don't know any different. So you just do what you're told, and we didn't have a lot of playtime. We had work to do all the time.
At what age do you remember working?
Oh, I don't have a good memory. So
were you doing a lot of work at 6 years old?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the?
Got up in the morning and milked cows.
So this is 5 in the morning or so.
5:30.
5:30 in the morning, milk cows.
If we slept longer than 6 o'clock, we slept in.
So anything after 6 was sleeping in, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
So most of your work was farming based,
Right.
based on farming.
Yeah, my dad had a little farm.
And you would be working same kind of chores that your brothers did?
No, the girls were usually in the house.
So what kind of work in the house did you do?
Well, we didn't have any electric, so we had to do everything from scratch, you know, and we didn't have any vacuum cleaners or anything like that. So we had work to do that we don't know what it's like around right now because we have electricity and we have vacuum cleaners and electric stuff in the kitchen, and we didn't have that. We didn't have running water. We always had to, for a long time, we didn't have running water in the house.
So how would you get the water?
We had a pump outside.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have, there's 8 of us grew up together. Four boys and 4 girls. Three boys died when they were little.
Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't go to the hospital. You would have someone come to your house, right?
Well, if they were really sick, they went to the hospital.
Okay,
yeah.
so the Amish could and
yeah,
do go to the hospital.
Yeah.
What did you do for fun? If you have 8 in a family,
when we played baseball, we'd get a limb from a tree or a branch from a tree and make a bat and bat the ball.
So you
kick the can and just made our own games, you know.
Okay. So it was work every day, some free time. Now, did you have friends in other farms come by? How would you go to a friend's house? You couldn't use a bicycle, right?
No.
So you would use a buggy or walk?
Yeah.
Were you able to keep contact with your friends on a daily basis?
No, because we didn't have a telephone.
Right. So you stayed with your family for most of the time,
Yeah.
and you might on the weekend see a couple friends.
Yeah. We had church every other Sunday, so the other Sunday we used to go visit people.
Why wouldn't you have church every Sunday?
I don't know, that's just the way they do. They still do.
So it's every other?
Every other Sunday.
Would you look forward to going to church, or was it kind of like, okay?
Well, it's just something we did, just something you had to do. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't look forward to it because we'd sit there for 3 hours and not really understand anything because they spoke in German, and we didn't speak German.
So they didn't do it in Pennsylvania Dutch?
No, they didn't do it in Pennsylvania Dutch. We spoke Pennsylvania Dutch at home.
Right. So it was pure German.
I think now they do more half and half, like more Pennsylvania Dutch, and maybe even some English.
So for 3 hours you had no idea?
No.
You
had benches without backs. You didn't have chairs.
What for 3 hours? You're hearing things that are from a language you don't quite understand.
No.
Were most of the people not able to understand?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Probably the older ones were, but I don't know how many understood.
Did your parents see fit to try to teach you German? Because that's what they spoke in church?
No, they never really did. I don't know how they thought we'd understand, but they didn't understand the scripture either, really, so.
Did you sing songs?
Yes, we sang songs.
And were they in German?
Yeah.
So you're singing songs you have no idea?
No. Tradition, that's, you went to church and sang songs a while, and then the preacher got up, and then they usually had two preachers, and they'd just ramble on and on and on.
And you would have females on one side and
Yeah.
males on the other?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever
together.
Did you ever do anything bad in church? Like pinch your friend?
I don't think so.
Could you talk back to your mom or dad in the Amish community?
Oh, no.
What would happen if you'd say, I don't want to go to school or something like that?
Well, we had to go to school.
What if you said, Mommy, I don't want to go to school? Would you be spanked? I mean, the Amish...
Yes, they spanked.
Okay. Because, the whole nonviolent thing, I didn't know if that would...
Yeah.
Let's talk about school a little bit. What was that like?
Well, it was a public school.
What do you mean? You
It
went...
was a public school because back when I went to school, they didn't have Amish schools. So I went to Churchtown, a public school.
Oh, okay.
My dad was on the board, on the school board.
You were with non-Amish.
Mhm.
What?
There were only about maybe 6 Amish people in the school.
Were you picked on a lot for being Amish?
No, we had good friends
And whereabouts were you living?
in Churchtown. We always walked the
Right on Main Street, or?
right on Main Street, just before you get into Churchtown.
How long of schooling did you do? When did you stop schooling?
8th grade.
8th grade.
Mhm.
So that's where your education ended.
Mm-hmm.
Did everyone's education end in 8th grade if you were Amish?
Yeah. I think they still do.
If you wanted to continue schooling, would they say absolutely not?
Amish don't.
Okay, they just say that's something we just don't do. What do you, so you're a teenager now, let's just fast forward a little bit. I read about something about hymn singings. Like
Yeah.
Talk about that. What's a hymn?
Well, we had different groups of church as well, because we didn't go very far to church because we had our horse and buggy, and then different areas had their own church. So in Morgantown, there was a group of Amish, and around Churchtown there was another. So that was 2 different churches, but they used to get the youth together and have singing.
So that's where you'd meet.
That's where.
How many times would they do a hymn singing? Was it once every 2 weeks?
Yeah, every 2 weeks.
And is that something you really look forward to?
Yeah, because that's when the young people would get together.
And did they sing hymns that you didn't understand, or is that
No,
did they do
that's when we sang English hymns.
it in Pennsylvania? Okay. Pennsylvania Dutch or English?
English.
Is this where you met Ammon
Yes.
at a hymn singing?
Yes, I met.
Was it love at first sight?
No, not really.
So how does one, quote, date being Amish? What does that look like?
Well, when you get together at the hymn sings, and then different ones think, "Well, they ought to be going together. They ought to be dating." So they try and put you together. And then when he says, "Okay," and he has to take you home. And then he takes you home, and then
He takes you
to my home.
home to you, just you and him on the horse and buggy. And that's where he tries to put on the moves to woo you.
Yeah.
Something like, they might say, "Hey, did anyone ever tell you look good in black?" Something like that. Because the Amish wear a lot of black. That was kind of a joke.
I don't know about that.
So then do you end up dating? Do you become an item, or does he ask your parents if he can date you?
No, he doesn't ask if he can date me, but he asked about marrying me then. But
so do you go on just a date with him and no one else?
yeah.
So you could do that?
Yeah.
And he would not have to ask your parents' permission at all to take you out on...
Well, they know.
But he didn't have to say, can I take you? Can I take...
No, no.
It's interesting. So, but he had to get your parents out of permission in order to marry you, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Now, what's this Rumspringer?
That's a lot of talk.
A lot of talk.
A lot of talk that I don't really know. People write books, they have to write about something, and that's what
So you never saw or experienced the Amish going crazy before they joined the church?
No.
Or? No. Okay. What were your impressions as a teenager of the... What would you call me? Would you call me an outsider? What was...
well, you were an English person.
An Englishman, okay?
Yeah. Mm.
So, as a teenager, what are your views of me? Do you think I'm going to hell?
We thought you had to be in the Amish church to go to heaven.
So someone like me would go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel sorry for me? Were you scared of... Or did you... Because you went to public school with these people. Were you allowed to be friends with them? Or?
Oh, yes, we were friends with them.
Okay.
I guess we didn't really think about that a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. What year did you end up getting married?
1950.
How old were you?
I was 19.
19 years old, married. Is that not average age to get?
Yeah.
Now, were you a member in the church before you got married?
Yes.
So you became a member at what age?
I guess 16.
16. And most people became members at 16?
Yeah.
If you weren't a member and you're 18 years old, could you have a car?
Well,
I guess before you're a member, are you allowed to do whatever you want? Or can you be under discipline? Or?
no, not from the church, if you're not a member of the church.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to a certain age, you go through like catechism class and you join the church. That's just...
Okay.
If you don't do that, you're really...
And pretty much everyone joined the church
Mm-hmm.
at your
Mm-hmm.
age.
And they think if you join the church, then you're okay. So we were invited to a tent meeting.
What's a tent meeting?
Tent meeting is where an evangelist comes and preaches the gospel.
Now, is evangelist at a tent meeting, are they Amish?
No.
So
The Amish aren't even supposed to go to a tent
So
meeting.
you broke the rules by
Yes.
going.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they would have found out you went to a tent meeting?
I think maybe they'd excommunicate.
They would excommunicate you if you got... So this is big time.
This is big time.
But
my brother-in-law, which was not, he wasn't a Christian at that time, and he invited us. And we went. And we heard the gospel that night, and we decided that we can't stay in the Amish church.
Who said it first? Was it you or was it Ammon,
No,
your
it was
husband?
Ammon, my husband that did it.
And so you both agreed on this. Was this a sudden thing? Or were you kind of like, this Amish thing is not for us?
This Amish thing is not for us because the bishop or the preacher in our congregation was always picking on something. Ammon's hat was not, the rim wasn't wide enough, and we lived in a house with electricity, and we weren't supposed to use it, and they just picked on every little thing. Ammon's, the horse, he had his horse too fancy and his buggy too fancy.
How can you have a horse too fancy?
Well, with the had
shiny stuff?
yeah, shiny stuff on the horse.
Yeah. So it was the legalism, it was the strict rules.
And then Ammon asked his dad, he said, what is all this? Why do we have to do all this? And his dad said, well, I don't know. Just ask the preacher. Well, we knew the preachers didn't know because... So, you know, we just, the Lord found us, I guess. And we just knew we can't stay with the Amish.
Who did you tell first that you were going to leave?
I guess my parents.
Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, and they, well, they didn't understand the gospel, so, and they, well, they just, I guess, if you're not an Amish, if you're a member of the Amish church and you leave the Amish, they excommunicate you. And they just thought if we're not a member of the Amish church, we're going to hell, I guess.
So obviously, as you're driving your buggy to your parents' house, was Ammon with you?
Yeah.
Were you obviously pretty nervous?
Oh, yes.
Tremendously nervous. Do you mind sharing how that went down?
I don't remember really that we drove up there, but they came down to our house with a bunch of other people, with a preacher.
This is after you told her?
Yeah, this is after we had left. They talked to us and cried and, so we thought, well, okay, we'll just wait a week or so and see how this goes, see what we think about it. We'll just wait. But we knew we can't go back to the Amish church, so I don't know.
So you're in a room, you have a bishop, your parents,
And
your brothers and sisters,
I don't know if my brothers and sisters were there or not, but...
and they're all pleading for you to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember some of the things that they were saying?
I don't remember the things that they were saying, but I remember when they wanted to leave, they asked for the prayer book because they never pray by themselves. They read out a book, read prayers out of a book. They were paging through the prayer book and couldn't hardly find a prayer to fit, fit the thing.
So they wanted to pray for you.
They wanted to pray for us, but they didn't know how.
What were the consequences of you? You said you'd wait a week. So then you told your parents we're leaving. What were the consequences of you leaving the church?
Well, there's not too much they could do because we did that.
So what did they do?
Well, I remember the preachers came to our house when they excommunicated us, and they actually pronounced the devil on us.
What do you mean? They pronounced the devil on you? So that they said you now belong to the devil?
Yeah. And because they didn't understand. They didn't understand the scriptures.
Now, how did you respond to that?
We just left them go. There's no use of talking to them because...
How did your family treat you once you were excommunicated?
Well, we were shunned.
Now, what is shunning? What's that all about?
When we went home for a meal, we never sat at the same table. They always had a little table at the end.
So, when you were first shunned, could they talk to you?
Yeah, they talked to us.
Okay, so they could talk to you.
Yeah. And they told us to come visit them, They wanted to see the kids.
So you would go over for like Easter Sunday or a Christmas or something like that?
Yeah.
And you would have a big meal?
Yeah.
So shunning doesn't sound that bad then.
Well, you can't ever eat really right with them.
So you had to be on a separate table?
Yeah.
How far away was the table?
Oh, it was right against it. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense.
So did anyone treat you, I just have to believe that some people just refused to talk to you. Did you have people refuse to talk to you?
Oh, I'm sure some of them wouldn't talk to us, but I'm not.
But no one in your family?
No. Sometimes they even had the same table, but then they had a different tablecloth. And then, first, they had food in different dishes to pass it around, like family style.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, they passed it across the table, across the line from the tablecloth. It just doesn't make any sense.
Did any of your other brothers or sisters leave the Amish church?
Yeah.
Most of them, or
most of them, all of them.
All of them.
They're in. You would say they're Amish. They're Amish Mennonite.
Okay.
They all drive cars.
Do you believe the Amish are wrong in what they do?
I believe they're wrong in making their young people do what they do. Yeah.
What do you mean by young people do what they do?
Well, maybe not all. Maybe not just young people, but they make them hold their traditions, which I don't know if it's wrong, but I don't know.
How many horses does the average Amish person own?
Well, if they're farmers, they have a bunch of horses, work horses. But I don't know. That's different too. Some people are horsemen and others aren't.
So those who own a farm, you're thinking, what, 4 or 5 horses?
Something like that.
Did you ever see any Amish drink alcohol?
Oh yeah, there's some that drink alcohol.
And that's forbidden, right?
Yeah.
At these hymn singings, did you ever see alcohol there?
No, I didn't. But they smoke, and that's not wrong for them.
So they can smoke, well, they grow tobacco.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say you can't smoke if you're growing tobacco. And it's
They're
cigarettes?
not cigarettes.
What do they smoke?
Cigars and recruits.
Do they
I don't know what the difference of recruit and the cigarette is.
They don't
Just
smoke pot, do they?
No, I don't think so.
Marijuana.
Maybe some of the young people do, I don't know. I've been out of the Amish for, what, 60 years?
So how about birthdays? How did they celebrate your birthday?
Oh, we had birthday parties, but not a lot of gifts, like.
No singing happy birthday?
Oh, yeah.
When you were Amish, so you could do that?
No.
Okay. How has the Amish impacted how you raised Dave, Merle, and Verna and them? Did the Amish impact you in that way?
They have good discipline.
So you put the smack down if any of the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing they do. They have good discipline for their children.
Children are out of control, rolling on the ground, crying.
No.
Not like my kids.
And they don't have TVs, so, and they don't have TVs or anything like that, so they always have their own games to play. And
Would you read a lot when you were Amish because you don't have TV?
not a lot.
Have you experienced people still shunning you?
Oh yeah. But I don't get to see a lot of old order on.
When was the last time you felt the experience of being shunned? A year ago, less than that?
No, longer than that. Because I don't get to marry many Amish.
What was the hardest part about being Amish?
I didn't really think it was hard when I was younger because that's all I knew.
What about when you became a teenager and getting towards marriage? What was the hardest part?
Because of the preachers always picking on us that we weren't doing the right thing.
Right. You said you lived in a house that had electricity?
Yes.
Were you ever tempted to use it?
Oh, yes. We had, in fact, my father-in-law bought us the house that had electricity in it. And
that was allowed, just so long as you don't use it.
as long as we don't use it.
When was,
We had electric washing machine, but we hid it downstairs. And then we...
So you hid it. So if the bishop wanted to see downstairs, did you have a game plan on how you distract them?
Well, we'd always put it in the closet or something, you know, stick it in there.
All right. Do you remember the first time you used electricity? Because you probably, were 18 years old?
I don't remember when I
Yeah.
used it.
But you remember using it.
Yeah.
Did you feel guilty when you were using it?
No, I didn't. I knew it wasn't wrong.
Did Ammon ever drive a car before you left?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about Ammon in the car.
He milked cows for a friend a couple miles away when the friend was away, and then he used his car. He had driver's license.
When you said Ammon had a driver's license.
Yes.
So he's doing this all behind the church's back.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he did use a car.
He wasn't a very good Amishman.
He borrowed his friend's car.
Yeah, the one
Okay.
that was
Right.
milking cows for. He used his car.
Now, if he got caught, he would be disciplined, right?
Oh yeah.
How would he be disciplined?
They'd bring him in front of the church and have him sit there, and if he wouldn't confess, then they'd excommunicate him.
So they bring him in front of the church, humiliate him in front of everyone. What if he says, "Okay, I'm wrong"? Then what happens? Does he get
Well,
punished?
I guess they'd just wait and see if he.
Okay, so they keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a fun job to be a bishop or in the Amish church.
Well, if he wouldn't make his job so hard, it wouldn't be so bad, I don't think.
How long was your courtship? How long did you date Ammon?
3 years.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why so long? I guess because you were...
I was too young.
Yeah. Did you feel pressure to join the church? Or is it kind of like that's
That's just what you do when you get a certain age.
Were you scared when you left the Amish church? As in that, were you going to be able to take care of yourself? I mean...
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't scared in that way.
Well, I mean, so you had friends that weren't Amish. That's why it wasn't scary. Is
Yeah.
that correct? So for the Amish that don't have a lot of connections outside of being Amish, it's probably a tough
Well,
transit.
I think everybody has.
Okay.
People that leave the Amish have friends outside.
Any other stories? Any interesting things about being Amish and leaving and after being Amish?
Well, we went to the Mennonite church for a couple of years, and then
What Mennonite church?
Conestoga.
Conestoga, okay.
And then we thought, hey, we're not getting a whole lot more here than we did at the Amish church. And we had friends that were going to Limerick Chapel, so they invited us down there. And I hadn't gotten rid of my covering because I was going to the Conestoga church. And then we went to Limerick and I got my hair cut and didn't wear a covering anymore. And so that was another big thing that everybody just thought was terrible. But
When your parents would see that, I mean, would they say something?
oh yeah, my mother said, "Oh, now that's another thing. Now that's another thing you're going to do. You're not going to wear your covering anymore and got your hair cut." They just thought it was just terrible. But I'm thankful to say that they both accepted the Lord before they passed away. That's a real joy to me to know.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for your time and your conversation. I definitely appreciate it.